145 banks shut down across America in the last 5 weeks. Here's some things that I'm considering that you may want to consider as well with all of these banks shutting down. Number one, you want to strongly consider some reputable online banking because some of these banks may be closing, but they still have online bank presence, but they may not be the bank that you need to affiliate with primarily. Number two, you want to consider some physical and digital assets. Emphasis on assets, things that have the ability to appreciate in value. That could be digital and or physical. So whether that's real estate from a physical standpoint, many people are big on gold, but digital assets may be things like cryptocurrency. That's some things you want to strongly consider. Do your due diligence because this is going to be key as we move into a different direction of where money is going. And lastly, I want you to strongly consider liquidity. You want to have things that have strong liquidity, not to where your money has to be tied up in it and it takes you a long time to access it, days to access it. You want to be able to maneuver money fast. One of the best things that has the strongest liquidity is cryptocurrency, due to the fact that you have the ability to move it in real time and it operates 24/7. You're not waiting on holidays. You're not waiting on business hours. You can move it fast, and that's going to help you be in position in the event that this bank shutdown is going to be detrimental. So let's dive in. In an alarming new look at banking across America, 145 bank branches have closed in only a few weeks. MyTrade is reporting that between February 7th and March 14th, several banks notified the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of Currency, OCC for short, of plans to close branches within just 5 weeks. That's pretty rapid. That's pretty fast. Something we do not want to sleep on. So there's an insane amount of bank closures in short amount of time. And it seems as if the retail and restaurant industries aren't the only ones struggling to keep the lights on. If you're paying attention, there's a lot of companies that are going belly up, closing down because of several different factors. But everything connects to one another, which is why you have to be in position, because there's always some opportunity where there's some things that seem to be just in total chaos. But at the same time, you could get caught off guard and you can be left unprotected if you're not taking heed to the things that I mentioned before. Remember, physical and digital assets, liquidity, and the right online banking systems to, just keep it down to a few minimum. Now, Flagstar Bank tops the list of banks slated for closure with 44 branches, followed by TD Bank with 38 locations closed. Now, some of these companies are closing due to it just being a good financial decision to not have a brick and mortar spot if they have online presence, because online is where everything is going. Things are going digital. Physical money is starting to be wavered away to where I can now see a future where dollar bills are worthless. I remember somebody told me years ago, listen, it's going to be a day where dollar bills going to be floating down the street and people ain't going to want to touch them because they ain't going to be worth nothing. Now, this is what a lot of people don't tell you. And a lot of times people always say, hey, the dollar is off the gold standard and it went to the petrodollar. And now people are no longer wanting to do business with the U.S. and use the U.S. dollar. All things are true. However, what the U.S. is positioning and posturing themselves to be is a dominant force in crypto. With the U.S. positioning the Bitcoin reserve that also has some other crypto associated with it, this is what can create the Bitcoin dollar. A lot of people don't talk about this, but the Bitcoin dollar is where the main currency that Bitcoin is traded in is based on the USD. If that happens to be the case, now the dollar bill still maintains its strength, its relevance, but it's backed in a different fashion. Instead of it being backed by gold as it was in past times, or backed by the petrodollar because everybody had to spend or use the US dollar in order to trade, oil, all overseas, is now attached to Bitcoin, making it the Bitcoin dollar as stable coins maintain and rise in dominance as well. You heard it here first. If you haven't heard that already, what does that mean for you? That means, for one, you want to be in position for having digital assets. That's that. Number two, you want to also make sure that you understand that the US dollar still can have potential to maintain its dominance, so you don't buy into all of the fears that people are putting out there, because where there's fear, there's usually somebody who's trying to pad their pockets on the back end. Sometimes it's good warning, but if you get that wrapped up in your mind, then you don't focus on solutions. You only focus on the fear, and then you attract what it is that you're fearing in the first place. And that ain't what we want. So that being said, make sure that you have a different perspective of, hold on, the U.S. is trying to do different things that can position the U.S. dollar to still be dominant. And I say that because if you're in America, then you are using the U.S. dollar on a day-to-day basis. So it's important for you to want that U.S. dollar to have some dominance, some relevance. Is it the best? Absolutely not, because it's not an appreciating currency. But if you put it in some things that can allow that to appreciate, now you can make sure that you are reserving your dollar to a degree by making it more valuable. A little further down the list is Chase with 9 closures. So Bank of America, who closed the most bank branches in 2024, 168 registered plans to close 9 more locations from February 7th to March 14th of this year. This period of lights off isn't only alarming, it's a sign of what's happening already in 2025 and what might be to come for the rest of the year and beyond the rest of the year. So experts are saying that this doesn't mean that the banks themselves are going under, but rather the foot traffic that is coming into physical locations is slowing, which is true. Ask yourself how many times you've been in the bank this year, let alone last year. So a lot of that is slowing drastically. So it doesn't make sense for them to be paying for all of the things associated with keeping their brick and mortar building in position. So that makes sense. So it's not the end all be all, but it's still something to make note of. Instead of paying several people to sit at a branch and twiddle their thumbs all damn day, the banking heavies are shutting down the underperforming locations in favor of online banking, which I said that. But in small cities and more rural parts of the country with fewer physical banks, this will be a challenge, because some people that are in smaller cities, they're expecting to go to the bank. They're expecting to go to their ATM. They're doing this all the time and anticipating using real currency. And some people still use currency. I don't typically carry cash at all. And usually when I carry cash, I oftentimes give it away. Like if I see somebody on the corner and they need some cash, I'm giving it away. So I find myself using it just as an opportunity to give something to someone that they want, because I'm not usually carrying cash. But some of these physical locations could be impacted because they don't have a clue what's going on online in some cases. You'll be surprised how many people don't know about crypto. You may be one of those people, but you got to start learning, because you don't want to be that parent or that individual who you are behind in times. Everybody I know has a parent that like, man, my parent is not tech savvy, or they feel like, their parent don't understand this particular nuance of technology, whatever that is. Well, you can end up becoming that parent. So you got to make sure you're staying on the front line of what's going on, what's happening, so that you don't get left behind. And that's important, especially if you have younger kids and you can be in position to teach them. Those are some things you really want to strongly pay attention to. Strongly pay attention to. Now, put that with the fact that more than 200 million Americans still make cash deposits. Experts predict longer wait times in banks and potentially lower overall customer experience to come. So knowing all of this, wealth is being transferred. It's just a matter of, do you want to be in position to catch some of the wealth that's being transferred from some of the shutdowns and things of that nature? But money is flowing in different directions. It's flowing from the typical form of using money to a more digital form of using money, and oftentimes going in the direction that you have the ability to benefit from. So now's the opportunity where you want to try to make as much money as you possibly can. Take that money and put it into things that I discussed. A better platform of online banking. Also, digital and physical assets. Please don't sleep on the digital form of asset in the form of cryptocurrency, as well as the physical, and then massive liquidity. You want to be able to maneuver and move money. That way, if you're traveling abroad, you still have the ability to function, because you can maneuver and control the money without worrying about a larger entity. If you're interested in making more money, then there may be some links in the chat, but I just want to make you abreast or aware of the things that are taking place with these banks and how to think about it the right way, so that way you are doing things to position yourself to win regardless, versus just being terrified of the things that are happening and being in fear of thinking that the US dollar, the world is collapsing. Yes, there are some things to be concerned about, but I'm not here to spread fear. But know that there are some things that are possibly shifting that can make the US dollar just as, if not more dominant, but still be backed perspective wise, by something. And it could be the Bitcoin dollar.